Look at that. We're back. We were just talking about boring things like working for my grandfather, which neither Ben or I do anymore. And I think I almost killed Ben. So this is a good start to the episode.
Spit take.
Yeah. It's fine. In classic me and Ben ever trying to record anything fashion. What a day. Anyway,
what
we're here.
A day.
Welcome back to the show that now has a name. Isn't anything super fancy, but welcome back to Take 20, where we discuss the events of the Rolling 20's. And
Hell yeah.
Ben, I will turn it over to you, I guess, because you're the host.
Excellent. And as always, I will be super formal in my podcasty voice until I actually get comfortable. And after a stressful day at work, it might be a while.
Hit us.
But today's episode of Take 20 will be talking about episodes 3 and 4 of the Rolling 20's. And today we are joined by Izzy and Dani, who play Quilly and Kalis, respectively. Hi, guys. I just met you 5 minutes ago. So, again, I'll be very stilted in my delivery until I get comfortable.
It's a great start.
Hooray!
Fantastic.
So, yeah. I have a lot of questions that came up in the last podcast that I want to ask you guys.
Oh, no.
But also, I can sprinkle them in our recap of the past two episodes as well. I'm also, again, do not be offended if I'm looking at my phone. I use it to take notes. So I'm not ignoring you. I'm just scrolling through my notes and trying to decipher my own weird language.
Okay.
How dare you be on your phone? Yeah, absolutely. How dare you?
So again, that's what I always like to start with. So there was 4 sessions of you guys basically starting this campaign before we got to our first recording. So how many other sessions, or I guess how many years of experience have you guys had before this campaign?
0. This is my first ever game.
Izzy! Really?
Yep.
Weird, right?
Yeah.
Such a natural. Actually, such a natural.
Such a natural.
No, I got obsessed with Critical Role back in 2020 when quarantine hit. When I first saw it, I just saw like a clip of the animated intro from campaign 2, and I was like, oh, this looks like a cool show. I'll watch it. It turns out to be these 7 adults playing games for 5 hours straight. I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm into this, but like the ball just kept on rolling and I got hooked on it. And now I'm here.
Nice. Welcome. You
Thank
are, as I keep saying, the group dynamic is insane. I thought you guys had years of experience going into it, or that any of you had met prior to this campaign. And
right?
no. The answer to that is no. All right, Dani, anything experience-wise?
I'm a D&D vet. I've been playing
Nice.
Dungeons and Dragons on and off for like 10 years.
Nice.
Or actually probably closer to 12 now. I always just loved, kind of delving into, stories, building characters. I DM'd for a bit, and then I realized, kind of playing a dedicated character that can grow with me kind of suited me better. And then I was also like really surprised how well we kind of gelled together as a group initially. Just regardless, because I don't think we had too many people who were quite exposed to like RP in depth. And so when we kind of built that relationship or that dynamic over like just a couple sessions, I was astounded. I was like, Jesus, this is working quickly. And so it was just from there, it was just off to the races,
It's riveting. It's working so well. I am so drawn in. To very my only regret is that I wish I had a little more free time so I didn't have to rush through these, because the story you guys have been telling is Fantastic. So, the start of episode 3. You guys just arrived to Camp Sinclair. What an absolute ball of joy Camp Sinclair is currently.
Accurate.
Just the
No.
happiest place.
Boy.
It's like
Like Disneyland.
it's like Six Flags, you know?
Absolutely. Oh boy. So, and how much into perhaps meta narrative can we explore here? Because I do have a question for Fraya right off the bat.
Ask whatever questions you want. I will, if it will divulge information that shouldn't be divulged, I will say that. If I can
Perfect.
talk about it, I'll talk about it.
If the group hadn't taken enough detours before Camp Sinclair, would they have arrived before the Knoll ransack?
Potentially. They could have arrived during it also. That was actually a fairly likely way that would line up. So
Okay.
it is possible that they could have gotten there first, and who has any idea what would have happened there? Not me.
It's so
Yeah.
interesting to know in retrospect.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I will say, like, I frequently have multiple maps either already built or I have a lot of terrain set aside in case I need to go, oh shit, let's take 5 minutes. I gotta break down everything on my table right next to me and build that instead. And that was one of the big ones was at the when you were deciding earlier whether to go north or to head south. I was like, I got like 15 things I'm ready for, and 1 to maybe 0 of them will happen.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Had to go save the people in the cave.
of
Hey,
course.
you have to be a bit chivalrous from time to time, regardless
You
if
gotta
they're
try.
dead or not. Yeah.
I don't have a ton of notes from Camp Sinclair because it's a lot of updating, a lot of stocking up on food, a lot of where you gotta just keep going to Camp Thunderhead. Why did I blank on that?
Fort Thunderhead.
Thunderhead.
Fort Thunder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But of course, that at least gives me the segue into Quilly still currently being the keeper of the cell phone.
Yeah.
and the contact back. So, I guess twofold. One, we didn't exactly get the backstory into. Did you take on this role voluntarily, or was it just like,
I think-
nose go?
Well, Quilly, I think she was the most who had the most like encounters with Mirka, because she was already a hunter for him, and so when we were dishing out the items, I was like, "Yep, I know how to use this. I have it."
Gotcha.
I thought we like each had one, but no, it's only the singular one earlier.
Ah.
But yeah, and I'm just as bad as a texter there as I am in real life.
I know
2
that
days
feeling.
later, just the delay is just absolutely. It's like, oh, my mother called me 3 times. Oh no,
Oh jeez.
I'm dead.
Which follow-up point then, where I guess everyone, are you who is the best note taker? And are you good at taking notes, or do you rely on kind of
Oh,
group
shit.
thing? Here.
The group has collectively seen my notes. I don't take good notes.
Are you talking like the whole group? Like everyone? Damn. I don't think I've seen
will
many of the other
say-
people's notes.
Iron Dan takes some pretty good notes.
Yeah.
He takes good notes, but it seems like they're oftentimes on separate pieces of paper, and so they get a little scattered. But when he has them, they seem to be pretty solid from what I've seen.
I mean, I have a notebook, like a dedicated notebook that I use. But in terms of the quality of the notes themselves, debatable. Like sometimes I absolutely just completely blank on taking notes, but
I understand completely. I am not a great note taker on paper in my groups or for this podcast. But in our old podcast, did you ever see my old notes?
Yes. Many times I saw your notes. They were legendary. They were very confusing.
Yeah. So every now and then, welcome. It'll also be a Decipher Ben's notes and quiz on. Do you guys remember what you guys did a
Good.
month ago at this point? Let's see, because the next one is Kalis, The Order, question mark, expanding backstory, question mark.
Oh, true. Oh, yeah, that's big. Well, that's pretty
That
open-ended.
is.
No.
Yeah, that's
It is.
very open-ended.
Um,
So there was something there that I was just like, what is The Order? Was that brought up beforehand, or is that a piece that we'll find out later?
okay, so the order essentially is the order of paladins that
Mhm.
that Kalis belongs to is the order Bahamut. Him along with a variety of other paladins. I think what 4,000 something in total. Basically, just
Yep.
kind of do their thing. Are not exactly like a political faction in the in the city of Vasselheim. They're kind of more like a, you could say like a, in a way like a peacekeeping order. Like they kind of take care of situations that rise up that don't really have to do with um a political nature. So basically defending citizens, going out, taking care of, the bandit camps, you know, monster, monster
So
nests, stuff like that.
sort of like if the Red Cross was kind of a military
Okay.
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah. In terms of like Kalis's place in all this, he's just one of many knight paladins within the order. It's just one of his like rank. So yeah,
Okay.
he's like one of many thousand.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
just it's not spoilers or anything. It's we do touch on this a little bit from time to time, in game so far, but it's essentially like broken up into chapters. And so his chapter is the Azure Devils, and there's a handful of them, and then there's a bunch of other ones that all. I mean, essentially they're all one big unit, but in a lot of ways, especially when there isn't like one big unified thing for them all to deal with, they kind of function as their own units in a sense.
Yeah.
So
It's
Yeah.
it's kind of reminiscent of like Warhammer 40K. This is essentially like
Oh.
a big
Oh.
right. It's
Yeah.
it's a very big influence that we had. Um, not like we definitely pulled some of our own flavor towards it, but we essentially like spent an entire evening just like delving into like building 26 and yet or like 25 26 of these things, and yes, there are actually like 25 chapters that we have
with
built
names and
with names,
yeah,
potential
who's in
ideas around them.
charge.
Yeah, there's a lot, and hopefully one day we actually get to like kind of
We will.
little by little go through them.
Yeah.
But there's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Another question that I was going to bring up. A great segue. Thank you. Did you guys have any outside inspiration that you used for building your characters? God.
Yeah, definitely. Quilly is literally just like every like movie and like book that I loved as a kid. Like there's definitely like Tarzan, Jungle Book, like Where the Wild Things Are. And so she's just a mix of like my just general personality and all of that. And like even in our we had like a personal like world building like session. There was some inspiration without giving it away, but it's like arcane.
Okay.
And so I'm excited to see where more comes out, but
Ah,
yeah.
nice.
Inspiration for Kale. Kalis pulls from like a lot of fantasy.
Hmm.
There's points in which like he is kind of the very much traditional charismatic angry boy of fantasy. You can kind of I read a lot of Wheel of Time,
Yeah.
so you
I
can
was gonna
kind of
say,
pull
that's
like
the big one
you
for
could
me.
yeah, so you could probably pull like Rand into there. Like he's very especially when he gets a bit darker throughout the series. That's a big influence, mainly because I just love the books. And it was just there. and it was probably subconscious at first. Like I didn't know I was doing it, but eventually it just built and built and built into this character that is strangely like close to me now. Like I feel really attached to it, like irrespective of how recent I've made them, but just the amount of the amount of time and effort that I put into the character, like the backstory behind it, and just the way that I've RP'd as them, has just been really really mind-boggling. But other inspirations have like also included like a bit of Aragorn's in there. Ah, there's a great um sci-fi series called Red Rising. Fantastic. He also pulls a bit from there from certain characters. There's a lot of big like epic fantasy that he pulls
Nice.
from. But other than that, I yeah, I don't know if a lot of me comes out. Kalis is I don't know if Kalis is very much of me, like
Right.
who I am. I'm generally a pretty optimistic guy. I don't know if the same can be said for Kalis for the most part. But yeah, it's been a pleasure building that character for sure.
Nice. Okay. That's awesome. All right. So I just love seeing how people like, for lack of a better term, getting into their minds and seeing how they're playing their characters. Kind of like 3 steps back at that point, watching you draw from that and then play your characters.
I'm so
So,
glad that question's not directed at me.
oh,
Every
maybe-
every other
Inspiration
character.
behind every character.
Yeah. Every
Oh,
other
yeah.
Someday we'll get there.
we need a list of NPCs first.
Okay,
Then
so
we'll just
campaign
rapid
wrap up.
fire.
Campaign wrap up.
Okay.
Every single character you have
Alright.
to rapid fire off.
I got this. It'll be easy.
Oh boy, this will be fun to get back to the episode. My next note is just rustic potato.
Rustic potato.
Was that talking about- Was that about the Derek's sending stone?
Yes,
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 it
it
was. It absolutely was.
Why? I don't remember at all.
Because we were talking about how it was like a hot potato that they were
Yeah.
passing it around, and it absolutely looked like the actual stone itself. We compared it to a potato, just the way
Yeah.
how it was damaged and
Iron
Stuff
Dan
like that.
called it rustic in
Yeah.
looking, and Danny, you're like, oh, rustic.
potato.
Potato, yeah, yeah.
Potato, like a rustic potato.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I absolutely remember some joke about being like a hot potato because some
Yep.
characters were like throwing it around. It's like who's gonna pick up? But yeah, that was definitely a funny moment.
Oh
I
yeah.
didn't expect a potato phone to come out. That's for sure.
Oh, of course.
Uh,
If you guys do anything that will make me laugh, I will take a note of it and I will bring it up later to see if number 1 you remember and number 2 if you still think it's funny.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I have the humor of a child. I will.
Oh, yeah,
100%
yeah.
think it's funny.
Oh boy, my next note. This could be a million things. It's just Volkar and Kayla sitting in a tree. It's just the best,
Yeah.
fleshing out the best friends forever ring that you
This
guys
was a
have.
homoerotic episode in some ways.
It was.
Oh,
It
that's
definitely
right.
was.
'Cause everyone was playing that up for you, or
Yeah.
Volkar specifically was leaning into that to make you uncomfortable.
They're just
Yeah,
an
he
old
was.
married couple.
It
Yeah,
was absolutely that. It was really
Yeah.
fun to play out. That's for sure. It was hilarious. Credit to Josh. Josh is great with just making me, making me
yes,
like kind of scoring me on that end. Because I was
Yes.
like, I can never tell what kind of angle he's playing. Especially in some more like recent episodes, it's very hard because he switches around with Volkar pretty substantially. But I think
Mm.
it's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, that was a great moment. Um, but yeah, the Kalis and Volkar sitting in a tree KIS IMP or ING, that was great.
yeah.
That's fantastic.
I told Josh this last week, but I call you guys the Red Bull Boys because you both have wings.
That's a good pair.
is.
That's
Yeah.
that's definitely a good moniker for the pair. I wholeheartedly agree. But I found it fascinating how late he waited to reveal the wings. I actually revealed them quite early. Like it was before even we started streaming the campaign.
Yeah, that was in like the slime, the weird guy fight where we met Milo, isn't it?
Yeah, we had a
Yeah.
huge like blob fight,
Oh.
and then that's how we met Milo. That's how Milo actually got introduced to us. And it was, you know, same old like cool entrance to a character, and that's how we figured out he wasn't human. You know, he wasn't just a pretty boy. There's a reason why he, for lack of better terms, he pulls an Edward. He glows a
He
little
just
bit.
glows.
You know,
Shiny.
shiny. But yeah, it was weird to see how he played it off too. It's like, what do you mean? I don't have wings? Huh?
Like denial's not just a river in Egypt.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh man, yeah, because we start with basically Volkar's wing reveal. So we
Yeah.
miss Kalis's.
Yeah.
Kalis's was much cooler, I will say. Volkar's was very entertaining, but Kalis's was cooler.
Okay.
Yeah. It was definitely something that I wanted to pull out, like going back to when we weren't streaming yet. It was something that I wanted to pull out in a moment of like drama, because I
Right.
feel like that's the most applicable moment. You can't just have it as like, oh, just
Yeah.
Right.
wings come out.
I'm drinking
Yeah,
beer. My
sneeze.
wings come up.
Yeah, it's just, you know. But I think that Kalis also, in retrospect, just looking at the character, he has a penchant for drama. He likes.
Oh, yeah.
He likes
yeah.
the dramatic scenes.
All I'll say
As-
is, episode 7.
Yeah.
I won't say anything else, but
As
Uh,
someone who's done community theater, you play Kalis as a lot of my friends who my current D&D group I got roped into to my friends through community theater. You do play up the dramatic, and was wondering if you did theater.
I actually.
But-
The funny thing is, I never did theater. It was one of the
Ah.
few things that I actually regret not doing in high school. I always wanted to do like improv club. I always wanted to join a musical. I always wanted to do one of the school plays. My school is actually relatively known for it where I'm from. They were an art school. But I never was that. I was always much more like an athlete. I always played
Gotcha.
sports. I was always the one outside kicking a ball, or like for lack of a better term, I was throwing a frisbee.
Nice.
But yeah, that was always
I-
me. But I was really disappointed, like mainly in hindsight, because I just loved Dungeons and Dragons so much that I feel like I had something to give. I know, like for the most part, I still have so much to learn in terms of like timing and improv and stuff like that. But it's one of my favorite things to do. I've loved it ever since I was a kid. So
Nice. This next note. Welcome to the most frustrating part I've listened to yet. His name was Sebastian, and he was magnificent. Guys didn't take the horse.
I know.
trust me, I was disappointed. I really wanted to take the horse.
you natural
Yeah.
20 on the travel chart, you get a free
d-
horse, and you
it would-
let it go.
And we let it go.
I
Granted,
didn't want it to die.
Yeah.
Now you'll
See,
never
you-
know the secret I had about that horse, and I'm not just being a dick. You'll never know.
I knew
I
it.
took a folder and I threw it away.
Oh no, he did a sheet
Yep.
rip
Yep.
behind the scenes.
On Google, technically,
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Yeah. You'll never know. It's
It
one
rolled
of my
well
favorite
for
things I've
animal
written.
handling.
Yeah,
Why didn't you
it's
just
only-
push everyone back?
It was going pretty good.
Oh no.
Dang, I was like, it doesn't like have a saddle or anything, and there's just one. Like, what are we gonna use it for? Like, we can't really like carry our stuff. I was thinking too logical about it, not just for the fun of having a horse. And I was
Yeah.
like, I thought about that like after like I already sent it away, and I was like, I really wish we kept.
She
I mean,
kept it.
It would have definitely been a good starter pet, because we don't have one, right? And I feel like every
Yeah.
good group needs a good pet. You know,
Yep.
for like in Lord of the Rings, they have their little pack horse in the beginning. In Critical Role, they have Vex's bear.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Everybody
like,
needs a
Sprinkle.
mascot.
every group needs a good mascot.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Sebastian could have been our mascot.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see Sebastian again.
Maybe.
You might.
If we roll another nat 20, maybe.
Yes. It won't just be one; it'll be
Yeah.
field.
But that's also just my luck that like on one of those checks I get a natural 20, but like on some other checks that I absolutely would have been so necessary. But it's like I just didn't get it. But that's okay. Hindsight.
Oh, there's a note in here for your rolls later.
Oh no.
Next note is literally just kiss already to Kalis and Volcar.
Don't
That's my
encourage the
favorite
fan
gag.
art.
One of 7 spots I could have wrote that note.
Yeah.
Next is in all caps with about 5 eyes, just the word simp for Kalis. So I think we.
Sam.
What's he simping
Oh.
over?
It might be over Sarissa. This might have been brought up at some point in the episode. You know.
Yes, your previous encounter with her.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
just
the tiefling.
The
Yeah.
tiefling.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
So
The
this
sexy
is
tiefling.
yeah. So this is essentially the first interaction with someone that I had made actually, from the order after like one of our big lore building sessions,
Mhm.
like world building. And I basically like tossed all of these characters. I made 6 in total. I tossed all these characters at Fraya, and I was like, "Go buck
Well,
wild." See,
you-
I was like, "See where you go with this." I'm so fascinated to see. And first scene out of
Instantly.
first scene, and this was I think the scene right before we started streaming. Like
Yeah, this was the episode right before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was the
Yeah.
There was so much that
the
happened.
session. There was a lot that happened. But this is the episode before, and
She'll be back. Don't
Um,
worry.
I hope so.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh,
She-
please.
She's it's essentially like archetypal seductress, but in the most in the most absurd way, because she's in this like super honor like bound like knightly order. So why is she there? Like why is she there? She just like screwing with people, and then Kalis being one of those people.
Yeah. But she can and
Want
also
what she
will
can't
fuck you up
have.
if she needs to.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
So, have you two learned the consequences of giving just the littlest scrap of anything to Freya?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Okay.
The first background I gave to Freya, he elaborated on it so much I was blown away. It's one of the things that I like I kind of appreciate about him as a DM. It's just the effort that he puts into like to character backstory, and expanding upon it more so than anything.
Nice.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing what like we have given to Freya, and just like what like he's like added to it and what we've created together. And every time I get like a hint of that, because Quilly doesn't know much about anything, but Izzy knows everything. And so anytime there's like the subtlest thing, like a subtle like name or something, like in my mind, I'm like losing my shit. But Quilly doesn't know anything.
Right.
She doesn't know what the fuck that is. So she just keeps minding her business.
So, a question I just love asking, and because it's so long, you might not have specifics to this, but was there anything you wanted to say but like stifled into yourself because it didn't quite fit, or you were trying to take a back seat to let someone else to make a decision? I don't know. I always like asking.
I definitely know me.
Mhm.
Just by playing Dungeons and Dragons so much, and just by the nature of how long I've been playing, I tend to like engage with RP a lot,
Mhm.
and so I love to bring other like other players in. I love initiating stuff, and so there's some instances where it's like I have to kind of pull back. Is like I want to like see these two characters initiate as opposed to like me beginning like with them, and but I'm 100% okay with it. It's just like in the beginning, it's like I just have to mentally kind of like take notes. It's like just wait here. You don't need to talk right here.
I will say on that note, one thing I do particularly appreciate about uh, just kind of that concept you just talked about and how you approach it is I have seen you. Sometimes I'll actually kind of notice when you realize like, oh, I've been talking a lot, and I'll see you'll let the conversation kind of play out as it needs to for a little bit longer, and then like I can't remember exactly what it was, but I know it was one of the times at the Golden Crowbar. There was this happening, and you just turn and you just come out with a completely unrelated, different question that was still very natural to ask to Theron, got him talking, and then you just shut up, and it was a really nice way to like pass that off. And I've seen a couple instances of you doing that, so I personally appreciate that. I think it's really
I
awesome.
like getting other people involved. Like it's a group game. Like it's a group activity. There's no point to playing if you don't have others kind of incorporating their own storylines and building this story together, right? It's not like a single player game. You're not there to just flex your main character identity, right?
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
as a viewer, I appreciate, because I think even episodes 1 through 4, the majority of Quilly's backstory we get with you, Kalis and Quilly sitting down after arrests, and other than the end of episode 4, that's
Yeah.
biggest
Yeah,
chunk
that
that I
happened
have
too.
right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I like getting to know how other players kind of play around with their character's backstory and kind of how they like sprinkle a bit of information here or there, clue it in a bit.
Mhm.
In
Do you
terms of
find it
how
makes it?
yeah.
Do you find it makes it easier then for Kalis to naturally interact? The more you know about everyone else,
Oh,
the kind
100%.
of more
Yeah.
easy it is to act, I guess, and
Yeah,
to
well, yeah.
engage. Yeah,
100%. It's
it kind of
it's
snowballs.
entirely it's entirely based on the more you know about a character, the easier it is to kind of communicate in character with that
Hmm.
player. Because as soon as you know like this one little information, then you can kind of hint to it later, or you can kind of like leave a trail there, make a joke about something that maybe the other characters technically shouldn't know.
Yeah. Inside
Um,
jokes.
inside jokes. All of this builds just on character interaction, which is by far my favorite bit about Dungeons and Dragons. I know like our group isn't exactly the most combat heavy. We maybe have like a session of combat maybe once every other, or maybe every two episodes. But with our
Say
group
that now. I see Freya's planning face.
yeah, um,
Yeah, wait till the
but
finale, I bet.
yeah, but it's just one of those things that I love interacting with other players, especially one on one. There's nothing that really beats one on one, because your attention's kind of diverted if you're talking to two or more characters. Like you have to kind of analyze and break down lines of questioning for both characters. Otherwise, it kind of feels like unnatural in a way. Where if it's just one on one, I remember there was a kind of conversation that I had with Theron where like camping in over over by like a tree or something, or both of us are taking watch. And then this was a moment in which I was like, oh, this would be great to kind of talk to Theron, because Theron, obviously being the consummate loner that he is, decides to not talk about much. So I was like, I wanna kind of delve in, see what I can pull out from there, and maybe sprinkle in a few like character beats about Kalis in the meantime. It's not because the focus in my head was not on me; it was on Theron. I wanted to see what like Theron's about, because up to that point, it's very hard to pull anything from Theron, other um, other than like being back in the city and then being in the Cobalt Soul like archives.
Flip side, Izzy, do you find it like if Kalis comes to Quilly and just like, hey, and just kind of gives you that platform to do your backstory. Is that helpful, or do you kind of slightly panic because now you're on the spot?
A bit of both, honestly.
Uh-huh.
No, because it's definitely like I love how Dani just like initiates because I suck at initiating. But once get that snowball rolling, I could go all day. So that was like a really like nice moment to get out a little bit of information about Quilly because a lot of like a main thing about her is that she does not know how to socialize that well. And so like the only person that she really like trusted is Lila. And now she's wary about the group that she's with now, but of them Kalis is probably the one who knows the most about her at this point in time. And so it was a nice little bonding moment. So she's definitely feels herself getting out of her comfort zone, just opening up a bit. So but it was like really nice to just have that. I always like practice like my monologues like on the car, like on my car ride to work, on my car ride home. I'm constantly just talking to myself. And so it's nice just to get it out of the way, and then I'm satisfied for the rest of the session.
Yeah,
Nice.
I do the
All
same
right.
shit, by the way. I
We all
absolutely
do.
practice.
We all do.
I do.
Oh, yeah.
I do the Kalis voice in the car
Oh,
all
yeah.
the time.
I do that going to my sessions.
I
Oh, good. I'm glad we all
spend
do that.
usually the first about 30 to 40 minutes before the session. I have a little porch like right behind the window behind my computer here. I will just pace in circles with my eyes closed and go through every single character I expect to be this upcoming game. Which so far from what Ben's seen, not very much. Next time we meet for this podcast, I'm sure you'll have seen a lot more of that. But I do the same shit, so I love to hear that.
All right.
Have to.
I'm going to try to blitz through the rest of this episode because it was really travel heavy and not a lot happened. Well, I shouldn't say that. We get first of Milo's escapade. How many? Who? I want to at. You don't have to answer this, but who has not been in Milo's net? Or is that at some point does everyone
find
get
out.
shot with?
You'll
Yeah.
find out.
Cool.
It's implied during travel. He's probably shot everyone with it, except
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
Derek. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'll let you find that out yourself.
for sure. The prankster of the group. It's already been said.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
mischievous guy.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments to picture after one of your rests during the travel was Quilly woke up with a drool-covered book on their face.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's on brand,
Yeah.
She's
100%.
a smart girl. She likes to read, but she's sloppy too.
absolutely. Drooler, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I have Derek's sending stone keeps getting stolen. Should we know? It just happens again. Another frustrating point, less frustrating than Sebastian, still frustrating, is you didn't do the puzzles or the fetch quest for someone who's basically was out gathering items
Oh, for that
and
witch in
had
the woods.
there's a tee up which I think Kalis was trying to detect poison. Of course, Milo just went, "Hey, tea."
I don't think it was me.
Yeah.
I
It's
Might have
think
been
it
Volcar.
might have been
Other Red Bull boy.
Volcar. Yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that whole scenario is that after like writing down all of what we had to do, a lot of that stuff in my head, I was thinking very like video game mode. I was like, this is a side quest. How on earth do we get these things? I was like, if I remember correctly, it was like a hag's something.
I don't know, like
A
mushrooms and
unicorn horn.
shit. Moss.
Yeah, mushrooms which only grow in a certain portion of the Vesper Timberlands. Like some of these things which we probably won't end up getting to like right then and there. It would take us like so much more time to travel. So that was just the logic behind like why we just skipped it entirely.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna end up like just naturally where we're going. We're gonna pick up a few
Yeah.
things.
Definitely.
But I think the absolute goal was just to get to Fort Thunderhead. It was
Yeah,
a beeline
like,
there.
no more distractions.
Yeah, mainly for Volkar's sake.
Oh,
Volkar's
yeah,
gonna go
yeah.
absolutely ballistic if he didn't.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, but considering how well the last puzzles went, I just
Yeah.
I like seeing them again as a viewer. Like I don't have the time frame. I'm not playing the characters, so my curiosity was like, wait, what was this shiny thing? No,
Yeah.
please. Oh,
Yeah.
I will say, expect that there will consistently be things like that where the party can't possibly focus on everything that I will put
Oh,
there,
yeah.
which I do intentionally.
Yeah.
I'm very aware of that. So, we can on the side and maybe later on in the story, if you have questions about certain things, we can chat one-on-one on some things. So I don't have to divulge my secrets to the world. But yeah, expect more of that.
One thing that I do want to say, especially pertaining to like puzzles, is that we had one. I forget if it's already passed. I'm pretty sure it has. But when we were doing that whole like faith bit in that like broken down
Yep.
church, I'm pretty.
Yeah.
This had to have happened. Like had to.
Yep.
When Kalis basically like sprouted his wings and like flew up and basically like fell down to like get rid of that whole sequence, I was very, very tempted to take one of the other party members with me, and basically like hold them and say, "Do you trust me?" I was so tempted, and then just absolutely, they had no idea what I was gonna do, and then just drop the wings and then just fall to the ground.
That would have been good.
That was
That would've
that was
worked.
hindsight though. I was like, that would have been amazing. And also, if I did do it to Volkar, who knows? Maybe it would have been an earlier sign of Volkar and Kalis in the tree, you know?
Maybe.
It would have just went in, it would have been alluding
I
to that
just
the whole time. Or
anytime.
it would have been just a good bonding moment.
Yeah.
Mm.
Anytime you two are
characters.
together, I still have the SpongeBob "Best Friends Forever, Best Friends Forever" ring in my head too. Weirdly quiet up north or to the north. No, you just didn't have encounters. Fraya specifically said weirdly quiet to the north, which you then specified. No, there's still critters and stuff around. There's just no
Like, is it
encounter.
weirdly quiet or just weirdly
Yeah.
quiet?
Yeah.
You came across a gnome knoll ransacked camp. Nothing too much there, from what I remember. Volkar made ice caves for you guys to not freeze to death on the way to Fort Thunderhead.
Yeah, interesting enough.
Ah, and then finally we arrived at Fort Thunderhead, and Kalis, you immediately roll 2 natural ones.
Immediately.
It's
Pretty much.
just it's my luck, to be honest.
It's all or nothing.
It really
at this
is.
point.
It either hits really well and I get absolutely absurd rolls.
2 natural 20s.
2 natural 20s
Yes.
in the same advantage roll, which was
Yes.
it was the first time that's ever happened to me. So for it to be caught on stream is awesome.
Yeah.
In terms of those 2 natural ones, it's on brand at this point. It's just
You got
Yeah,
high,
that's
high,
how
and
we
low
started.
lows.
yeah. But to be
Yeah.
honest, that's what makes Dungeons and Dragons. You roll, and that's how the dice land, and that's how you have to play it out for good or for
Oh, yeah.
bad. You know.
Yep.
Oh, the bridge.
The bridge.
The bridge.
bridge.
Welcome to the bridge, which I wrote
Actually-
down Holy Bridge.
Keep talking. I'm gonna grab the bridge real quick.
Oh, excellent.
Oh, let me see this.
So we have the Holy Bridge, which I wrote down as HOLY. I'm like, good enough. I'm not going to fix that. That was there. Of course, Freya walked away. But these past 2 episodes, I have been physically tense, wondering if you guys will make it
Small
excellent.
portion of it. I built the bridge. It's not to scale, of course. It's huge. But got a
So
little
that's the
dangly
one
bits.
side.
Yep. There's the hole in the
Yeah.
not too far in and some other stuff there. So that's loosely what I was going off of visually as I was looking at it. But yeah, there it is.
Great.
That's awesome. Oh man, Izzy, you don't have this background, but I've in 1 or 2 campaigns, a giant chasm is a party's usually worst downfall. It's insane how many times you will lose or almost lose someone to just a big hole.
No, I definitely thought she was gonna die.
Uh-huh.
It's
I
definitely
was like, fuck.
yeah, it's definitely like a bridge of Khazad Doom moment. Like it's
Yeah.
straight up like, oh, we're gonna lose Gandalf here. Okay,
Yeah.
Oh,
great.
yeah.
Um,
I was
but
like,
to
I
be
had
honest,
faith because like two
yeah,
of the party members have wings, so I
Yeah.
was like, she's probably like will survive, but it came close. It came close.
And my last note for the episode was just NPCs here just to use up spell slots and resources.
Well, so funny enough, I actually rolled a natural 1 on her. She is by far the most acrobatically inclined person among that group, and I was like,
Yeah.
anything but a 1, and she's more than fine. I got the 1, and I was like,
Yeah.
well, that sucks.
actually, just the most capable character there. Period. To be honest.
Arguably, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a word you don't have a mascot. No, you do.
No, we do.
You do. Yeah.
But
Essentially our bodyguard, but yeah.
yeah, I
too.
love that bridge so much. Like, I think a lot of fantasy stuff, like DMs for fantasy games, can get caught up on the fantasy side, which is cool. And like Magic traps and challenges and crazy puzzles, like, yeah, they're fun. But sometimes it's like, oh, why is this hard? Because you're level 3 and it's a giant bridge, and if you fall off, you explode.
Yep.
That's how that goes. And things like that usually either don't bother the party at all and it's fine, or they become so much worse than you ever expected. But yeah, I love that bridge. 10 out of 10. We'll use bridge again.
And then I gotta get my secondary character up and ready in case we run into another bridge. Because she did not have like a fear of heights. Because like it's something I've thought about before. And I was like, yeah, like based on like backstory, like yeah, she probably doesn't have a fear of heights. She does now. Like
Yeah.
next bridge we come across, she's just gonna nope and turn around.
That's the end of episode 3.
Yep.
Let me scroll up if I have more fun, just random things to. Oh, on a scale of 1 to absolutely paranoid, what are your thoughts on airships?
Mine is actually like for Kayla's irrelevant. I said, oh, it's an airship. Okay, cool. What's that?
Maybe I should have asked
Essentially.
that after, because I now realize something happens at the end of episode 4.
Yeah.
We'll get back to Izzy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go back to it.
Yeah,
yeah.
So I will say, Ben, at this point,
Mhm.
for us in game, everyone has talked about their visions.
Okay.
So we are aware of at least the things that they said about them is what I'll say.
Cool.
But the general concepts of them are out in the open. I know that when they happened, they were kept secrets. But we do know about those now. So
Cool.
just in case that helps or
Alright.
changes your questions.
Re-rain.
Oh yeah. I went through a lot of my general notes. Okay. No, episode 4. My goodness. Did you
Episode.
during one of the times Freya was just like the bells tolling, do immediately someone's phone went off. It's like do.
Yep. Yep.
It's like that is comedically perfect. Totally
No,
not
just-
what you wanted.
I'm just really good.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's just really, really
Really
well timed.
good, man. Yeah.
Of note for the upcoming battle, I have this note, but I'm just going to say it now. Everyone can only do ranged attacks, so that Freya has to do that arrow noise every time.
Every time.
It's so good. Some of the sound effects he pulls out his ass is just fantastic. I'm not gonna lie.
I have so many more. There's some
Yeah.
monsters I'm waiting to get to eventually because there's some fun stuff. But
Oh, excellent. A lot of this was just a ton of trepidation, trying to see what was in the courtyard. Kalis, you went to poke around in the courtyard. Tried to do it stealthily. We learned Kalis does not have stealth.
He's
here.
not really big on stealth.
No.
He's kind of he's kind of a tall guy, walking around in heavy armor. He's bound to be detected at some point. Whether he knows that, up for debate. I don't know how oblivious he is to actually his his presence in the world, but I don't know if he thinks it's a bad thing or not. He likes to make an impression.
Yeah. So when Freya was describing the three orbs and the different gnolls just being absolutely this, can I say how gruesome your description of this? Well, I mean, a lot of other things have been rather gruesome, but this, the vapor. Oh, ugh.
Thank
So,
you.
what were
As
you
a metalhead,
guys?
that is the highest compliment one can
Yeah.
That's
receive.
fair. Izzy and Danny, what did you have any thoughts as the scene laid out before you of the gnolls just being basically summoned up to be eviscerated in terrible ways?
I mean, it's a visceral reaction. It's
Yeah.
like Jesus. That's the first thing, because we basically make this whole journey from Camp Sinclair all the way up, expecting this is gonna be a big fight. There's gonna be a ton of gnolls here, and then we come to realize, oh, there's only like 7 left,
And we were still getting our
Um,
ass beat.
and we're still getting our ass beat. But it could have been a lot worse if they hadn't
Yeah.
been sacrificing their
True.
own kind. Uh, but it was really um it's really weird in a way, because I didn't know what the whole I don't think anyone knew what the whole ritual was like initially
yeah.
supposed to do, right? So in Kalis's head, it's like, okay, this is some like voodoo type of stuff going down. We have to stop it in some kind of way, otherwise we don't know what's gonna happen. Some worse stuff could happen. But yeah, definitely a visceral reaction for like what was going on, just because like the descriptions by Fraya were just great.
Oh yeah.
Definitely hardcore, to say the least.
Good way to put it.
Yeah. That's what we signed up for. We signed up for a hardcore,
You did.
like gory,
Mhm.
type of encounters. It was one of the things that we actually prefaced in our session 0. It's like it was one of the things that we weren't going to shy away from. We were definitely into it.
Yes. Okay. How much planning happened before like your first session? Because we talked about the paladin orders and now the session 0 of how hardcore you wanted this campaign. So like, can you talk? I guess how much pre-planning? Freya, I know way more, but did I guess the players have
So
in that?
I'll actually take this one. We had a group like our session 0 of just like, it was only 4 of us.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
only.
I think it was only 4 because Blair joined slightly after, I think, or someone joined slightly after.
No, Izzy.
I had
Izzy
joined
wasn't
like
on
a
session
week
0.
before we
yeah,
started
yeah,
playing.
yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you were the late
Yeah.
one. But so we had the 4 of us. Well, I guess the 5 of us, and just talked about general stuff, just what was okay, what wasn't okay, experience, what they wanted to see, all that, and I'd say that was probably like an hour and a half talking, just some like real basic, like, hey, here's the kind of character I want to play. And then I had one-on-one sessions with everyone separately after that, and I had one session with everyone before we started game 1. And then I think it was like very shortly after game 1, Dani immediately was like, okay, but this order.
Yeah, we need to.
So
Had
it
to.
wasn't like massive amounts. We had our session 0. I got basic character stuff. Everyone had a couple days to send me their rough ideas, and then I spent the next 4 or 5 days writing up pages and pages of shit to send to everyone separately about their characters, and then gave them a couple days to sit on that, and then had the meetings. So I would wager more prep coming into session 1, especially being a whole group of people who don't know each other yet. Probably a considerable amount more than most campaigns. And a lot of that is just because I'm a lunatic, and if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna go all the way.
You're doing 1,000%.
Yeah, yeah. To quote to quote the Taoist master I study under, anything less than 100%, you might as well go fuck yourself. So, that's kind of
Accurate.
that. direct quote from him. Wonderful man, but yeah, fair amount of prep, and then since then it's just been ramping up. It feels like every week, it gets to be a more involved process, at least for me. So,
I mean, me and Freya love just building the world. It's just one of my
Yeah.
favorite things to do.
yeah, well, I mean, surprise, the history student likes to likes to
Yeah.
world build.
Considering it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things. But an interesting thing about our session 0, actually, I was very close to not being a Kalis. I was very close to being a Theron, actually.
Ah.
So we were very close to not seeing essentially like the characters that we were gonna be. I was very close to being either a warlock or a ranger. I was very close. And then I actually ended up talking to Blair about switching. I was like, hey, did you like how hellbent were you on paladin? Because I have this idea and it's just eating away at me. And then he's like, I'm 100%. He's like, I love the archer archetype. I love like ranges and stuff like that. So I'd be down to switch. And yeah, that's essentially how we landed on our concrete character ideas. Because I just talked to him. So I needed some way to figure out how I was gonna make like Kalis like into a kind of a concrete like idea. Because it was definitely there before. It's just I didn't flesh it out. But when I got my material back from Fraya, door was blown wide open.
Floodgate
That was
open.
yeah. And then I was like, oh, this is perfect. It's perfect.
Then, Izzy, since this was your first, I guess, big campaign, how much how much, I guess, did you have a one-on-one with Freya? And then how like,
We didn't have like a session 0. When I joined, I think it was mainly just I sent you like my backstory that I've already written for Quilly, or like I sent you like a couple different like characters that I had in D&D Beyond, and you told me like welcome to play anything you want. And so I had like a minute of just like deciding like who would best like fit the setting. I had like a couple different one. Like Quilly wasn't like my main character. Like I have a different main character who is this edgy half elf rogue. That maybe he'll be my like secondary character one of these days. But that's who I always like considered my main character. And then Quilly just appeared in my mind. I always make like my my characters based off, I'm surrounded by paintings in my room right now. And so Quilly was like the most recent painting that I did. And I knew I wanted like a wild child kind of thing. And she wasn't originally going to be a barbarian either. I was debating between like barbarian and ranger for her as well, because I saw that Volkar was originally supposed to be a barbarian as well. But I found like the wild magic subclass for barbarian, and I was like, oh, that kind of fits too perfectly. And so yeah, but they were all like super cool, just like letting me play what I wanted to play, and then here we have Quilly.
nice.
Also,
I-
shout
I
out,
have-
that painting is awesome.
Yeah,
That painting
It
is
is
so
actually
fucking cool.
amazing.
It's so cool.
Yes. I have a slight soft spot for Quilly because the next character I want to make is a wild magic user. So I'm like, oh, let me check some notes here.
It's so much fun. There's so much on my wild magic table that I haven't been
Mhm.
able to use yet. I keep
Mhm.
rolling like
You
the
keep getting
same thing.
one. It's
Yeah, like
insane.
I've gotten like a couple different ones, but like it's always like the 1d6 force damage, which it comes in handy. Like even like when I miss an attack, I still like deal as much damage as they're
Mhm.
dealing me. But there's so much cooler stuff on it that I really hope I finally roll one of these days.
I think at one point I must have like was distracted while listening, so I thought you had Hellish Rebuke for a second. It's like, wait, what?
Is that what?
No, not yet. um, okay. So where were we in the episode? Oh, right.
The ritual.
Seeing
Yeah.
the ritual, and then just going in to start attacking and disrupting it. Yay, Milo's net. Boo, legendary actions.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was clever, but you
All
can't
that
win 'em
practice. No.
Well, okay, to be fair, that legendary action could have gone to something much worse.
Could have. Trust me, I was in the back of my mind like, there's probably going to be about 3 per round, and using 1 to attack a net's pretty good.
Especially because he also did damage to the one who's in the net. Like, still a win.
Yeah.
Yeah, tried my best to reward that, but couldn't just let it slide. No way.
Oh, welcome to. I only have one of this segment for the podcast this week, but welcome to Who Said That? Where I just take, for backstory for you guys, I run a Twitter called Stuff Ben Hears, where I like to take things I hear and just take them out of context, tweet it with no context around it. Great.
It's fantastic, by the way. You should definitely scroll through it at some point. It goes back years, and I've said some horrible things on there.
So this one might be easy to remember. I have no idea what I want to do, except I do know what I want to do.
It feels like Iron Dan would have said that one. That feels like a Derek thing.
Really? I'm thinking Volcar. I don't know. I don't know.
That's so hard, actually.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
That's so hard.
You guys cracked up because you're like, what? Wait, what?
Oh, now that I think about it, it has to be Josh.
Yeah, I'm
like
pretty
it
sure
has
that's.
to be.
It feels like when he was gonna flank it, because he was trying to make his mind up on that for a while. But I'm not 100% on that.
It feels like something Josh would say. It's like,
I don't know. I'm still kind of leaning Iron Dan, but I'm not sure.
It's so hard. To be honest, it could have been any of us.
Right.
It really could have been.
I'm thinking about, I was like, did I say it?
Yeah, in my head I was like, I don't know
I
if
could have said it.
that.
I actually don't fucking
Yeah.
know. That's a good one,
What's the
Ben.
answer?
Damn. Who is it? We're not sure.
All right. Fraya, you should trust your gut. It was Iron Dan.
Okay, I
Oh,
thought it
no.
was before he guiding bolted. Like
That might have been it.
at a pretty pivotal moment.
That might have been
I
it.
think that was it.
So yes, I usually try to grab 2 or 3. This week I only had 1. But yeah, careful what you say, because if it's real funny out of context or just funny in general, it'll come back.
We have
Into the
those.
archives.
We have those moments.
Kalis, I took the note after you remembered you forgot to use your inspiration die. So I said,
Yeah,
Kalis
it
felt
was-
very inspired to take an icicle to the face.
Yeah, it was brutal. After realizing, I was like, wow, that's useless. That's one useless D6 of the session. But to be, it fits. It fits.
does.
It's like, oh, absolutely just gets clobbered by this icicle. Yeah, makes sense.
That was a rough hit. That was like 30 something.
Not to
was
mention, it's
30
because
some
you
damage.
rolled so high. This is kind of just you let it
Just a
let it go.
one-shot.
Yeah, you let it go.
Next, Lila absolutely destroyed that large knoll.
He got his
Yeah.
weapons.
So that was someone, I forget who it was, but one of my friends who watched the episode when we live streamed it afterward was like, wow, that was really nice of you to not have it attack them. I was like, it wasn't me being nice, it was just it had no reason to focus on anyone else.
Yeah.
Like it just didn't make sense to do. So Lila absolutely tanked that fight for you all. But had things played out differently, there was a good chance it would have just turned around and started shrekking you guys. But it didn't turn out that way. There is one interesting thing about this fight that no one ever considered. And right now, Izzy and Dani, I want you to think real hard on the situation here with the ritual and think, what big thing could we have tried to do that we didn't try to do?
Oh, I know. It's we try to force the big guy into like the orb essentially, and probably just eviscerate him right away. I feel like that could have probably been tried.
Maybe. Not exactly what I was thinking of, but you could have potentially tried that, yeah.
Yeah, I had like my pouch of beads of force, which like would what I originally wanted to do. It would trap like the main like magic user like in like a sphere for like a minute, and I was like that could work, but I was like too far away the whole time, and I was just like trying to prevent the I was trying to prevent the guys like going onto the sigils and like getting like sacrifice or whatnot, but because I was worried
That's
with
fair.
what those bells were gonna do. But
No one considered to test the integrity of the orbs being used for the rituals or any other pieces involved in that.
oh, could we have shot them?
Maybe no one bothered to find out if that was the thing you could have done. I
Huh.
will say again, there were many outcomes possible from that. So that could have gone a lot of directions, but that's just a thing I noticed. I was like, someone asked about them when you first walked in, and then combat immediately went a little iffy, and everyone just like forgot about everything else going on in the room, and I was like, okay, cool.
I think the outcome that we got was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It was cool. So here's the thing that I also want to bring up. I by no means forced you to go in there.
No.
We even had a discussion about whether or not to. Imagine this. There was a good chance that you got there, looked inside, saw this, went, cool, we got our info, and left. Meaning, you would now have zero idea any of the things you now know, and they
Yeah.
would still be happening.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
you all made a pretty pivotal decision right there, to say the very least.
Wow.
I also think Kalis is kind of an idiot. I think at some points he thinks he can just take on the world. So I absolutely he would have just gone in regardless. It was
Or
like, you know
honor
what?
and
Fuck it.
glory.
Yeah, front. Like screw it. Let's go in. Let's try to shut this down now. You know, take care of these baddies. You know. But yeah.
Yeah.
Felt like it suited the character.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And Volcar
Yeah.
also was not.
Yeah,
anything that
Volcar was
like,
was-
yeah,
we know
fuck
that.
it,
We know
we're-
that very
yeah.
much, but
Yeah.
yeah, just wanted to bring up that was a distinct possibility that could have happened, and the story would already, at least from your perspectives, be completely different by now. So
Mhm.
Thank goodness. We have such a great story.
Um,
Want to change it?
I did lie earlier. I had one more quote, but that's like right at the end here. I
Oh,
just found
Okay.
it in my
Okay.
notes. So shortly after the large null, I guess one more. I don't exactly remember what triggered it. Sorry, but a rift opens in the middle of the courtyard.
Yeah.
And out steps. Hauntingly beautiful. How did you describe them, Fraya? Oddly
something
beautiful.
Like that. I
Yeah.
can't remember precisely. I say a lot of words in these games, but something like that.
Yeah. Gray skins, long haired,
it's like purple hair. I'm pretty sure.
purple hair. Purple.
Purple hair,
Yes.
gray skin, purple hair.
Some purple
Yep.
hair.
First was
Forgetting.
the man, if you will
Yes.
call him that, who killed some stuff
Just
real quick
Killed
with a sword.
again with the killed the nose.
In my head, I 100% just kind of imagine a way more ghastly version of Alucard from Castlevania.
Yeah.
Just like kind of that like alive
Sort of.
figure,
He's
but like way
a
more
little,
like
a little beefier than that, but yeah.
yeah. But like that kind of like way of chopping people up. That's essentially what I imagine.
Yes.
Like very graceful,
Oh.
just like very nonchalant. It's like okay, that's
I
it.
was
Yeah,
thinking
whatever.
very Sephiroth from Final Fantasy.
That yeah,
Yeah.
that also works.
Yeah, I knew that comparison was gonna come in some people's heads, but yeah, he shows up briefly.
He shows up briefly, and then as we find out later, his sister then walks through, which I believe at this point at the end of episode 4, all you know is she calls, or you may call her the Siren, basically. And she, oh boy, gave each of you a vision. And at the end of those visions, a small quest that came with it. Well, I have very quick notes for all these visions. At this point, you guys all know all of the
Yeah.
visions. So, Volcar's was Cord versus the Spider Queen, which ties into the quest then given afterwards. Milo's Phaedra, I believe was her name,
Yep.
looking for him
Yes.
in the square. I did not write down the name of the town or square, but Derek had a snake that was, I guess, constricting, enveloping him, and then had a flash of light come out of every pore of his body almost. Quilly. Quilly's note, I just have Lord of the Flies, then airship.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
Just I don't even, I guess you don't have the backstory because I wanted to ask, but there is a quest set out for a tiefling or someone to get a human head back to this hut for refuge.
There's so much that Izzy knows that I can't talk about.
Okay.
Quilly has no idea.
Yeah, Quilly has no idea. Quilly has no idea what any of that vision meant. It was like she was this tiefling, yeah, with a human head in the middle of the desert,
Mhm.
like knocking on this metal door, and
Mhm.
then above was herself on an airship with her mother. And so yeah, all of it is very confusing to her because I feel like Quilly's like main mission in life right now is just like unraveling the mystery that is her life. And so like any bit of information, she was like, okay, I have this. Okay, I have this. And so she has no idea the context of any of it, but
Trying
she's
to
freaked out by it.
Yeah, piecemeal this together,
Yeah.
which is fun because as a viewer, we're gonna have to do the same thing.
Yeah, we're doing this together.
You, Freya. I guess I don't even know if the other players have some of those keys, but only you and Freya have the full context.
Mm-hmm.
Well, only I have the full context.
He has the full
Yeah.
context of
Yeah, there's
everything.
plenty
That's
that I
not
don't.
Izzy
fair.
knows more than
There's-
Quilly. Quilly doesn't
Yeah.
know shit.
Yeah.
But yeah. I will say that that's a really fun one just to watch Izzy's face the whole time I'm talking. I could just see everything happening in your brain.
Yes.
I was like, yeah.
Tyrion had
Theron.
Sister in the Phelan. Theron.
Tyrion.
Why did I say Tyrion?
Gideon. Lannister.
All right. So
yeah.
I to help remember everyone's names, I kind of associate them with other words, and then I accidentally just mix them up.
It
So
happens.
Caleb,
Fantasy names.
Izzy,
Kayla's
Izzy,
took a long
thank you
time
so
for some other
much.
people.
Yeah, keeping it simple. See, we were just talking
Quilly,
about this earlier. Izzy and
so
Quilly.
easy.
So easy.
Yeah.
Kalis, I've associated with the word callous,
Yeah.
which is.
I mean that kind of makes sense
That
a little
works.
bit.
It's not bad.
Kalis actually took a bit for some people in the beginning because it's like
Yeah.
it's not
Cletus.
Yeah, Cletus was one.
Cletus is so good.
Yeah, Cletus. Who said was it Josh who said Cletus?
I think it was.
Oh no.
I think
think
it
it
was more
definitely was.
specifically Volcar who said Cletus. I
Yeah,
couldn't tell,
man.
but it was yeah, it was pretty good.
But yeah, Cletus is good.
Volcar, I think of Volibear from League of Legends.
It's a good one though.
Um,
All things
yeah,
considered.
it's pretty accurate.
Milo,
Primal.
for some reason in my head, I heard Mr. Krabs say Milo at one point, and I just, I still mixed that up. And then you heard my slip for there.
It happens. It
Brilliant.
happens.
That vision, Sister in the Phalans.
Yep.
Taken by a dark creature, tentacle?
Yeah.
But
No, just
with a feeling of it working out okay.
Yeah.
Kalis. My note for Kalis is, you couldn't save another one.
yikes.
Wow.
Hashtag failure.
Shots
Oh,
fired.
God.
So sorry.
Goodness. That's funny though. I'll give it to you. That one's funny.
Yeah, that's good.
That's
Another one
That's
bites
good.
the dust.
Yeah,
I will
damn.
say,
That's becoming a character point with Kalis.
It is.
It
That's
is.
why I
But,
wrote
It
it.
is.
during that, Dani, you made a very large decision that you're unaware of.
Oh.
A very
Shit.
large decision.
Oh,
Incredibly
going to
large.
save him.
You're not aware of it, of what it might mean or what even it was. And there's another detail that I don't think you picked up on during it, which is very interesting for me. So that's all I have to say. Just to be an asshole
Detail.
and throw that out
See,
there.
like this type of shit grinds my gears because now
Oh,
I'm gonna
yeah.
be thinking about this for
Yeah.
months.
Gonna be holding
Yep.
on
Because
that
I'm
for a
never
while.
gonna
Yep.
figure it out.
And I suspect that there are many things that can get in the way between now and then, but if things go a certain way, I suspect at some point you may realize what the detail was, like, so far down the line and lose your mind.
Oh my god.
So, very happy, very pleased.
Oh,
Fuck.
see, now I have the easy spot of the view. I'm like, hey, I'll find out along with you. Siren. Oh,
That
you have the side quest of the brother wants to resurrect or unleash the Spider Queen again, which messes with the Siren's state of being, plans, something like that. Happiness.
I-
So she.
Yeah, I think the big thing was like her as a character is very like chaotic. She likes to cause chaos,
Mhm.
makes sense. And she likes to fuck with her brother.
Yes.
So screwing with the brother basically is like, okay, let's have a bit of fun. Let's try to use these groups of like this little ragtag group in order to cause him a bit of problems that he definitely wouldn't have thought of because hey, he technically entrusted me to like get rid of these guys.
Yeah.
So let's see how this goes. So in my head, that's still like our ultimate like I think as a group, this is kind of like our main objective at
definitely
this
a
point.
big one.
Yeah,
As we go more east when we get to Fletcher's Eye.
or west. Yeah, it's west from there.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
West. West.
So that side quest is to retrieve an orb, which I didn't write the details on. I'm not playing. And put it to Lord Numa's estate.
Mhm.
Why pick Numa? Because I'm just singing Numa, yay.
That's what I thought of too.
Good.
Yeah, that's why. That's why.
Apparently, Lord Numa's a terrible asshole. They're great.
Supposedly.
Who
Supposedly.
knows?
Allegedly.
Maybe we'll
Allegedly.
find out.
Allegedly.
Maybe he's really
Allegedly.
nice.
Yeah,
No.
that could be a possibility.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The world is
And
built
yeah.
in gray, not black and white.
Kalis would say that.
To be honest, I think Kalis at this point would probably say black and white. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what
Maybe at
Kalis,
this point.
Who knows what Kalis would say in the future? Sentiments can change.
Oh. And that was basically the end of the episode. 'Cause my last note is still one last round of who said it,
Okay, let's hear this.
which is no, I was going to give you the context, but no, I won't.
Nope.
She
nope,
gives
just
me
say
the
it.
fucking heebie-jeebies.
That was me, I think.
Yeah,
That
I'm
was
pretty
it.
sure that sounds like a Kalis thing.
He gives me
And
the
I-
fucking heebie-jeebies.
It definitely was. It definitely was in reference to. I think I said the gray. How many times was it the gray bitch that was uttered, or was
That's
it the?
not.
was
That's not yet.
Not.
That's actually
not
next
that yet.
episode. Yeah.
But you can definitely tell that that's already in his head. Is like, screw this. This place. This whole scenario gives me
Oh,
the heebie-jeebies. Get the
you-
hell out, like.
You wanted to leave Fort Thunderhead immediately, and everyone's
Yeah.
like, "Can we rest and maybe get spell slots back and
Yeah.
something?"
Mainly because of his dream. That was the rationale. It's like he hadn't seen anything in relation with that part of his like backstory in a long time. It was I think it's okay to like talk about this. It was years
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
And also like Lila kind of mentioning it just before the end of the episode, which I don't know if you caught on to that, but she did kind of like mess it or like kind of talk to Kalis about something, and he was also like really like caught off guard by. I don't know if actually anybody really caught that. I definitely did because I don't know.
Right.
This is the character that I play, but
Right.
Yeah.
it was one of those things where it's like, wow, I did not expect that.
And I should
Lila
have
has
had
a lot of those moments.
Yeah,
it.
She does.
I mean, we could technically talk about it.
Yeah.
It's essentially like she talked about the scar under Kalis's eye because there's
Yes.
there's a
So
a
that's how it happens.
long, yeah, there's a long crescent scar under his right eye. And then she just talked about it, was like, yeah, the guy or like the thing that gave you that, it's fucked up. And I'm and then I kind of looked at it,
Yeah.
was like, how would you know that? I've told
Yeah.
no one this. So
That's right, because we
yeah,
didn't see NPCs' visions if they had them.
yeah.
Um. Oh, so then go back slightly. What I always love asking this. What happened in the secret chat when you all were being taken away
Oh,
one by
okay.
one?
I don't
This
even
is
know this.
hilarious.
Anything
I
we
don't even
miss?
know this. Yeah.
This is actually really funny. We were talking about is like, I think I said, so on a scale of like 1 to 10, how batshit was that, or something along that? Like
It was
how
so
like
hard to give a rating.
yeah, because it's like you don't know. It's like how do we
Yeah.
even like qualify it or like quantify it?
Mhm.
We don't know.
And we played rollies to see who would go.
We did play rollies, to basically determine who went next. That's how we
Mhm.
got to it.
I
It's like,
figured
'cause
no
it's a-
one was willing to volunteer.
yeah, I was like, I don't want to go.
Milo.
But yeah, we definitely rolled for it. The way that I do, I always roll low, so
Yeah,
I
that's
managed
right.
to go last.
Stay for last. I'm glad you went last though. It worked out well.
It did
did.
work.
It was
Um,
pretty crazy.
but it was pretty funny. And we were just like, I was very nervous because everyone had gone before me, and I was just like, I can't think of what's about to happen here.
Right. Everyone
Um,
left and then came back a changed person.
Yeah.
Did those con save rolls mean anything? Was it how good
why
your
would I
vision
have
was?
everyone rolling? I will say there is. I don't know if either of you two have gone back and watched the episode. But there is a small part after that, right at the end, where I talk to one person alone. After that,
Yeah.
and we won't talk about that because they don't know.
Oh,
I will keep
oh.
that hidden. Just
Okay.
as another
Good
thing
thing-
that happens in this, they have no
I was
idea.
gonna
Yeah,
say
that's,
that.
I wanted to bring that up. But if someone's rolling, there's a reason. Sometimes if I just want to fuck with people, I'll just roll. I won't even look at it. Sometimes I'll do that. It's just a sound to fuck with people. Other than that, anytime a dice is rolled, it needs to have a reason and an effect, regardless of outcome. Now, Ben, you saw the results and how good or bad they were overall, and I won't say anything about that. But yeah, everything, every detail of everything that's happened is important, and I'll leave it at
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right. Then I'll refrain from my last note then. Which basically closes out the episode.
Oh no.
Oh, great.
Shit.
Yep. Yep.
You
I
guys,
had a
it's
feeling you
5
were
minutes
gonna
of
bring it up.
work to actually figure it out, but
Yeah, but
end of episode 4.
yeah. Please
I'm
don't.
guessing it has something to do with like Theron's talk
And
with
Theron
Lila,
was
maybe?
the one at the very end, so
Yeah, that is who I spoke to.
Yeah, it makes
but,
sense.
Yeah. So I know the two of you kind of touched on it, like going in secret chat and just being like, all right, this is fucking ridiculous. At the start of the game, looking at Fort Thunderhead, I can't imagine any single word that left my mouth following that moment of beginning the episode was something you expected me to be saying. So how, at the end of this episode, how are you feeling? Like, because there's a lot of shit that happens, and I'm curious because like it was like the timing of it worked out really nicely to just like have the giant explosion right at the end and like 10 minutes of people just being confused and simmering in it. When you got out of chat that evening, what the fuck is going on in your head?
I was sweating actually.
yeah.
I was actually sweating.
yeah.
Oh man.
For me, it was more so I didn't expect the campaign to go in that direction. I was expecting a very like, from an outside perspective, very traditional, like, oh, they're gonna probably try to summon some abomination of a knoll, and it's gonna be some big bad evil guy type of fight. And that's how we're gonna transition into kind of like a new arc that we're building towards. And it was not that at all. In a way, you could kind of see it as that. Essentially they summoned these two, like demons. I don't know if you could qualify them as demons or like some weird
Was it Drow?
abomination. I think it might have been a drow, some weird type of abomination of a drow. Because in terms of the description, it didn't feel like one. But they are somehow related to Lulth, so that's naturally how your mind would kind of lean towards. But I was definitely not expecting what went down to go down.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And definitely like after like we ended the session, it definitely had to make me like think more on like Quilly as a character. Like just as like how like dark are we willing to go with this? Definitely because she picked up the orb and the ritual stuff at the end of the episode, and so to get the answers she wants, she really has like, it made me think of us like how's her like moral compass doing? And I was like, is it like really there? I don't really think she has like that like strict of a moral compass. I was like, will she make a deal with this demon person? Sure. I don't think she has many moral hangups, but we'll see how far she is willing to go. But definitely something that I've been thinking about ever since.
Nice.
Good. I so I'm pretty into philosophy and things of that nature, so that's all stuff I like to have. I like to hear that you're thinking of and contemplating. It's also a lot of stuff that I take into account when designing things that are going on, and I also like I'm very creatively rebellious in the sense that if I feel like someone else has done it, I just don't want to do it. I just don't. I hate it now. Just it's not a thing I ever want to do, and so I'm a very big fan of, as Ben, as you've probably seen, of not making things at all what people would anticipate them to be. And so while writing all of this, that was a big thing. Is like I kind of knew. I was like, Dani, as you were saying, like, oh, the party's going to be expecting, here's our boss fight and here's our arc. None of you were expecting that was the end of our prologue.
Yeah.
So I love being able to catch people off guard, even with little tiny things and big things. Partially just because I'm an asshole and it's kind of funny, but also it really brings out the creativity in people. And like there were so many ways you all could have handled that situation. My flowchart was stupid for that one, and I had what I expected to happen. But I know that if I'm throwing curveballs like that, the party oftentimes will throw them back at me, and I have to be kind of ready for that. So
Actually, this is actually a good question for Fraya now. How many of us made decisions that you actually anticipated, and how many didn't?
well,
If that's a question you can answer.
You all essentially made the same decision in terms of like the big situation there, which is what I anticipated to happen. I imagined you were not going to leave the fort, but I knew that it was a distinct possibility. I imagined that you wouldn't look at the situation and see that there are 7 or so gnolls left and go, all right, let's leave. I imagined you probably wouldn't have started thinking about some other things that I won't get into. Because of how gruesome and dire the situation felt at that moment for you all. So overall, what I expected and what happened, pretty spot on for this one. Because I'm also aware of you're pretty much all gamers, and I know how gamers play things. And I was very, very aware that after seeing these things, none of you is going to be like, let's just shoot this lady. So for this one, I was actually pretty correct on all of this.
Hey, you gotta give it to us. At least we're not murder hobos. Like,
No,
Yeah.
you're not.
That-
And you couldn't be in this world. This world would eat you
Yeah.
alive if you were.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that none of you tried that or have that mindset. So I think because I expected you all to act relatively logically, but also like gamers, who like to find everything.
we're completionists. We like every
Yeah.
achievement. 100%.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So yeah, I was pretty spot on with this one. Which usually is not the case, to be completely honest. So that's why I had a giant flow chart of every possible outcome I could think of, which was like 15. Because there were so many decisions you were making along the way that you didn't realize you were making, and like things that affected time frames. Like there's a chance some things happened on travel that you showed up and that was already done. Totally possible. You had skirted the tightest of timelines to make it there, and I was like, this is crazy, because it was going to happen at that time no matter what. And we just happened to get there for it, and I was like, okay, here we are. So it was more likely for you to miss that than it was for you to have any idea that it happened. So
That's a wonderful, wonderful thing to hear.
yeah, and it was crazy, and I like it because it's a really cool thing, and regardless of if you saw it, like I would have known what's going on and things would keep happening, but we wouldn't have had the scene, and it would change the flavor of our next couple episodes very drastically. So it worked out very nicely. Like I typically build a stupid amount of stuff that is happening and can happen. I have a whole folder of side things that are either happening on a time frame or location specific, or sometimes I'll be as loose as just like, hey, here's a thing that if travel sucks, or if this is happening, or if we have the time for it, throw this in here, this character. Because I want the world to feel as organic and alive as possible, and like your story isn't the only thing happening. And so we're still a little early for some of those things to come up, but I assure you there will be decisions that you make where 30 or 40 episodes later, something like that, you're going to be like,
It's gonna come back to bite.
damn, what would have happened if we did the other? Because look at all this other shit that kind of spiraled out. So I really like the cause and effect of things like that. So you have all made big decisions that you're unaware of.
Nice.
Damn it.
Can't wait to regret it.
Uh-huh. All right. So I think with that, that's pretty much it for the episode wrap up. I have 2 out of game questions because I'm very curious. Izzy, is your favorite animal a cow?
How'd you guess?
Ah,
No, I
love
have a lot
it.
of favorite animals, but I love my chair so much. We had like
Nice.
such a cute like bit, I think right before we started recording, of like
Yeah.
when I first got the chair and I was
Yeah.
showing it off, and like everyone
Yeah.
was making cow puns for like 2 minutes straight.
Yes.
I wanted
Yes.
to die.
Excellent.
It was great.
I
It was
love
great.
this chair with my whole heart.
Nice. And then to complete my curiosity, what is everyone else's favorite animal? And mine is an otter. Just to let everyone know, I have so many otter plushies, but they're all out of my reach right now.
I'm a capybara guy. I love
Ooh.
capybaras.
Okay.
I think capybaras
fair.
are really great.
Penguins.
Yeah.
Hands down. I knew too much about penguins by like age 4. It was absurd.
Favorite
Yeah.
movie? Happy Feet.
No, we do not. It's so much more depressing than that, and it doesn't have anything to do with penguins. But
It's for, like,
It's
the
it's
end of every
Apocalypto.
penguin.
Apocalypto.
So much more.
Yeah. I remember that movie.
I was like, so much more depressing. Surf's Up.
Uh,
And then one last question, because it came up in our last podcast. You don't have to answer, but do you guys know where Iron Dan got his nickname?
Iron Dan.
No.
we actually never talked about it until the
No.
podcast, so I don't think they would.
To be
It
honest,
was.
I'm just gonna preface this. I thought it was initially, it is good old gamer tag, so I thought it came out of that. But Yeah, we keep using it just because it's a good differentiation between two guys in the group named
Yes.
Daniel.
It,
Like it
it
really is.
was
It's his gamer
part
tag.
of. It was his first gamer tag.
Yep.
Oh
So I
yeah.
wanted to
Yep.
ask if you guys still remembered or used your first gamer tag.
Oh yes, I still use it sometimes. Gaming, no. As a username, absolutely,
Yeah.
100%.
I just recently changed mine.
Mhm.
I had like the same one. Like it was like just like my name, like but like it was with a name that like I currently with my identity I do not associate with anymore. So I changed it to Izzy underscore smells because it still rhymed. Um, I was like, okay, cool. But I just recently changed it again to Trippy Barbarian.
Nice.
I
All
think
right.
mine at some point was like, it was Danny Knight 80. This is very very congruent with Knight, you know.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's your D&D Beyond account.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was gonna
Yeah.
say I've seen that before.
Yes, it has popped up many times. And the first time that I actually, funny thing, the first time I ever actually invented that was to make a Webkins account. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
that
Oh
was
my God. I forgot
that
that
was
existed.
yeah, that was the username that I used. And my dad was the first one who sat me down and was like, "You're gonna need a username," and I was like, "What's that?" And so we brainstormed username ideas, and that was it.
That's amazing.
I was really into Knights. Apparently, I still am, and it went from there. The one that I used for the longest time, and that I still fondly remember, was Gandolphin. I used
Oh.
Gandolphin so often and so frequently that I remember good friends that I had in high school would refer to me as that, and it was semi-embarrassing because I was like, why in person? This wasn't
Nice.
necessary. But yeah, I just love the fact that Dolphin absolutely works with Gandalf, and being the fantasy nerd that I am,
It's fair.
hey, might as well use it.
My first
Nice.
van, I named Vandolph the Blue. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Randolph.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? Anyone wants to bring up before we kind of wrap this up here?
One thing actually that I
Uh-huh.
was thinking of saying,
Uh-huh.
but our very first session, unfortunately Milo wasn't there, but when
Mm-hmm.
everyone was there, I found it incredible that like the very first time that we spoke, that was the first time I introduced an accent ever into playing a character, and I was really self-conscious about it. I didn't know how it would go, but as soon as I started with that accent, I saw every single member on the table just like, oh, so this is how this
This is how
type
it's
of
gonna
games.
be.
Yeah, this is how it's gonna be. And I'm so glad I did that because subconsciously I feel like going into that and putting that effort in, I felt like kind of raised the ceiling as to like
Oh
what we
yeah.
were trying to do with RP, like how in depth we were gonna go. We weren't just gonna go. It's like, oh, this, that, there. We're not really gonna like delve as deep. But as soon as I did that, I was like, screw it, we have to do
That's
this.
definitely something I was self-conscious about. Like going in, like I was debating between like two different accents. There was a really quick moment where clearly was going to be Irish, and sometimes she still is, like like when I'm not paying attention because I just suck at accents. But yeah, like going in, I was like, you know what? If no one else does an accent, she's just gonna be my regular voice. But then I heard Dani, and I was like, okay, we'll just pull out the English.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it was the first thing that came to mind because I was like, this character is like, he probably has some generic, fantasy British accent. I don't know where it's from. It's just some type of thing. But I think accents are so integral to like delving into a character and actually changing into them.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, I feel like if I'm just talking as myself or some caricature of myself, it's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
It also really helps me because I hate when I constantly have to ask, are you saying that or is your character saying that? Are
Yeah.
you saying that or is your character saying that? So it helps me a lot. It's also like, I think being a player is leagues harder than being a DM.
I think it's the opposite. I 100% think it's the opposite.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
As-
At
as
least with the way that I run games, and so one of the biggest issues I have with playing is I can't really find groups who will match me on an RP level. And I'm actually very sad I don't get to play with you guys on the same party because you would. And so a lot of times that just kind of annoys me. Like I've been playing for 17 years, you know. Most of my life that I can remember has had Dungeons and Dragons in it. And I like getting deep into character. You sort of, I mean, it just becomes acting at that point. It's acting with parameters. And when we have a game and a group who is as in depth with the roleplay as you all are, I can't even say we, because I have games that I run for other groups where I do the same stuff I do and they don't, you know, remotely get as into it as you all do. It's very difficult. Now, I understand it's a very different skill set. Again, like, the reason I like to DM more than playing is I like to create problems. I don't like to solve them. It takes a lot less thinking for me to make situations than to figure out how to get out of them. So I'm kind of chaotic, I guess, in that regard. But the reason I think it's harder is you don't have another escape in game if you make a character decision that you later don't like, or if you do an accent and you're like, I don't like this, or any part of your character you realize all I have to do is just make a new character, forget about the old one, just never bring it up, because who gives a shit? I have so many things going on that, yeah, I'm gonna fuck up my accents, especially when I have my headphones on. I can't fucking hear myself. It's gonna happen. I can't linger on it because I have a whole world to run. And it's also good because, like, there's some characters, like one Ben hasn't quite met yet, who we all love.
Yes.
Who didn't exist until he walked in, and I was like, damn, there's probably someone working here right now. And I didn't have time to go, what does this man sound like? Should it be this accent, or should it be this? Should it be this? Should it be this? It was just like, and explode and see what happens. And I don't have time to regret anything, at least performance-wise for the most parts. And so I like hearing about, like, coming in game one, you both being nervous and like, what should I do in this? Like, I guess when I started DMing, there was that, of course. But like, I can't sweat the smaller details nearly as much, and it's so much easier for me to do this than it is to play a game. I don't know why it is that way, but yeah, that's my 2 cents on the matter.
Nice.
I just think that the bar that we set in session 1 just kept getting raised each session, just
It still does.
progressively.
It
and
still
it
does.
still does.
Oh yeah.
But to be honest, I feel so self-conscious sometimes regarding my performance. And that
You still
only comes about because I think of other ways I could have maybe done it, or other things I could have said, and that's where it's like, shit, you know. Especially like recording it and then putting it out there. It's even like, because I'll watch it occasionally sometimes just to see, it's like, oh, how did that come out, or like, how, like, in retrospect, how did that make sense? And sometimes I was like, damn, you could have really said that better. For instance, a very, very famous quote of Kalis's that has not been given to the stream yet. To be honest, it will come back eventually. It's so good. Oh yeah, think before your dick enters the room. That was the quote.
Yes.
But it wasn't that exactly. It definitely that's that in my head. I was like, it was definitely different. But in my head, that's what I wanted to portray. Like, this one I wanted to convey to the party, because Volkar, in the second or third session that we had, went kind of aggressive towards a certain.
Yeah, I did actually tell Ben about that. That was when he tried to assault the daughter of a very wealthy man in his own establishments. And Kalis dropped that. And that was the last line of the game too, I believe. It was right at the fucking end, and we just ended on that note, and it was so good. But
and then everyone just laughed. It's like, what was that? And I was like, I don't know. It just came out. It just came out.
It was so good.
Oh.
But yeah, it's like some of those things where you look back on, it's like, I could have probably worded it different, but it's there now. It's in the mythos of the campaign.
I feel that way a lot. Like, I am not nearly as energetic of a speaker as, for example, Matt Mercer and all of them. I'm especially with headphones. I sound so loud to myself that I'm a lot quieter than I think I'm being most of the time. I have a much better voice for like guided meditations than I do for something like
It's a great way to put it.
like this that like personally like. And so a lot of times I'll listen to myself and I pause a lot when I talk. I talk kind of slowly. I have a very specific cadence a lot, especially when I'm coming up with things in my head while also running all of this. Like sometimes I'm just a lot slower than I want to be, and I hope it doesn't come off as a drag to you all. I think it would have come up by now if it does. But there's sometimes I'm listening to myself and I'm like, ugh, and I know a lot of that is just because we're on like Discord and what have you. And if we were in person, I think it'd be a lot better for me. But
One day.
even after years and years of being on a podcast and hating listening to myself and seeing myself, there's still some times I'm like in retrospect, like editing a video, and I know now watching it, like the word I'm trying to come up with as I'm just like stumbling through trying to say something, and I'm like, all right, come on, dude, like, yeah, you can do better than this, but it happens.
These are the small things.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
altogether, I think the way that our group runs is pretty smooth.
Pretty tight. Pretty
It's
good.
pretty
Yeah.
smooth. But yeah, it's just it was one of those things where it's like I feel sometimes like, especially going into a game, it's like, oh shit, I have to like make sure that I say the right thing or like say it the right way. Especially in Dungeons and Dragons, like it's so one of those things where you just have to practice. And,
Yeah.
and like not feel that so out of your own depth, because again, I have to realize like not everyone here or not everyone in the group comes to the sessions with the same level, like same experience in RP, but that's just natural. So it's like I have to think of myself as like, don't expect too much out of yourself. Just do what you normally do, and you'll be fine.
I also personally like when people talk like people, and so like it makes sense that these characters would say things that it's like, what the fuck was that, or just stumble and whatnot. Like it's actually I love the concept of audio dramas, and I have yet to find one that I actually like in terms of sound design and performance and everything. And a lot of the performances are given more like they're dubbing an anime than they're having a conversation timing wise. And there's no space. There's no realistic pauses. It's actually one of the things that drew me to Critical Role was that because they're physically acting everything out too a lot of times, at least facially and from the waist up, there's a lot of just dead space where they're just reacting or waiting to say something. And for me, it makes it feel a lot more like a song or more, I can't really say like a performance, but like a piece, like the movements of it. And so I enjoy when like sometimes Volcar tries to say something and halfway through he's like, nope, I'm fucking this up, and then he just restarts and tries it again, or things like that. Or when I fuck up all the time, it makes it feel very real to me, and that's what I think makes these scenes and these moments the most like as profound and impactful for me is when they're believable. And so I actually, even sometimes when I look back at like my performances and I'm like, yeah, that was weird, it's like, yeah, maybe this person was actually kind of flustered right now. Like
Yeah.
we do that. That's how conversation works.
That
Can't
does.
wait for the day that we all get to play together in person.
It will happen one day. It will happen.
It's gonna
Yes.
be incredible. It's gonna
It'd
be
be
so
awesome.
good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dani and Izzy, for joining us for the podcast tonight. Thank you, viewers who are watching. Anyone new, please feel free to subscribe to Rathmore Games on YouTube and on Twitch, which I believe you just got affiliate for.
We did finally hit
Yes.
that, so that's good.
Congratulations. It's
Thank you
Rathmore,
very much.
WRATHMOORE.
Yep. Rathmore Games.
Mhm.
Spelling bee champion.
Yes, yes. But yeah, I guess I'll also just throw it out there. Right now, we're doing a dice bag and a set of dice giveaway for first 25 subs in the US and Canada on Twitch. So if at all you are inclined to do so, there you go. I'll write a little thank you letter in there as well, because this is my full-time job, and aside from that, it's literally my whole life right now is doing this stuff. So
What a life to lead.
what a life
Right?
to lead. I'm very fortunate. It just dropped such a great party right into my lap. But yeah, anyway, thank you all for listening or watching, and we'll catch you next time.
Stay safe.
Bye.